I just painted this painting, a portrait, I would call it, of a person skydiving. An unusual portrait for me. I haven't really painted anyone from that angle before, so it was a little bit of a challenge. I also haven't painted any portraits in a pretty long time, even though that is what I mostly paint. So it took me a little longer than usual. That's okay. Now sometimes things take a while. And the trick is to not give up and just keep powering through, and eventually you'll get there. A little motivational talk. Yeah. So I'm just gonna walk through how I painted this and provide a few tips and tricks along the way. Maybe a few jokes. So brace yourselves. It's gonna be a pretty calm ride. Today I'm gonna be working on a commission piece of a friend of mine, skydiving. I've already sketched out a little bit of this, just kind of to get the basic layout. So right now it looks kind of like a demon. I think once we get the paint on, hopefully it won't look like that. But we'll see. You just never know. Yeah, I'm having kind of a weird hair day. If anyone wants this style, wake up and don't fix your hair. You too can look like this. Little style tip from Krystal. So I'm not going to show the actual photograph of the person. Probably seems like it's cheating and I could just be painting anything and tell you it looks like the photo. That's not the point. The point is, privacy for other people. I've got these colors because it's basically going to be the blues and the white are the sky, and then like all these warm colors are going to be the skin tones of the person's face. Okay. So I'm going to start with kind of a large brush to just like block in some big areas of color. So a good general rule of thumb for any painting is to start with lighter colors. Obviously I didn't do that in the sky, and I probably should have because now it's really dark over here. Sometimes drawing things in with pencil ahead of time can make it more messy because you're going to be dragging some of that graphite in your brush. I don't mind that. I don't mind things getting a little dirty. So I think it adds more depth when you have to like put more layers in, so I kind of like that. So if you're thinking that this looks kind of like shit, you're not wrong. It does so far. My painting process is very much a process. It's kind of like a creation and destruction thing. And eventually it just starts to look good. So we'll get there soon, hopefully. So I've literally been sitting and watching paint dry. And I'm just going to share some thoughts that I'm having about this painting. Maybe it'll help you with your paintings. Okay, so some things that are happening that I think are good, if I can speak objectively about my own work. But I think there's a nice contrast. Like the face is very warm, almost too warm. What I'm going to want to do is come in with some cool tone, but still, it's a good contrast between that and then the background of the sky, which is very cool. All blue. So I like that. But first I was thinking I needed to make the sky more textured to match with the face, but now I'm thinking the opposite. I think I'm going to try it, once I get more of the face done, I'm going to try to make the sky like perfect and smooth, like a completely smooth transition with like no brush strokes at all. And then keep the face like really kind of textured. I think it represents skydiving well. Like we're very vulnerable, made of meat, skin, bones, blood, versus like the sky, which is much bigger than we are. Like when you're skydiving, I mean, maybe it's technically not the riskiest activity, but it feels like it is, I would imagine. So like comparing yourself, basically the rest of the universe, and as close as you're ever gonna get to it, with no barrier like an airplane. I think that kind of works conceptually with the piece. Things that are not working that well: composition. not much here for a composition. I think it would have been better if I would have moved this whole face over like 1.5 inches, so that instead of the center being like this, which I think is too central, I don't know, it's almost like too much of a dividing line here. It'd be better if it was all just like moved over a little bit so that it was more of an asymmetrical composition. But I don't think it's bad enough to change it. If I wanted to redo it, that's what I would do. One thing you might notice, I never use a color in only one spot. I always try to find other places to use it. I think that just makes the palette work better because you're then referencing other parts of the painting. And I mean, really, you can use any color anywhere. The more you look at something, the more colors you see in it, so it just doesn't matter. You just gotta decide what you want. I'm using Payne's Gray. I like that better than black. But it depends on what you're looking for. Sometimes black is good. It is hard to go back once you've... One important trick is to use the negative space kind of as positive space. So if you only focus on like the object you're painting and not the background space that's surrounding it, then at least I think a lot of people tend to misjudge the spatial relationships. So I just did that a little bit just while I'm thinking about it. I was kind of so focused on the hair and the face that I didn't realize I was kind of getting way too, I don't know, it was starting to just look really wrong, too far extended, like over here, which is not how it is in the photograph. And so to fix that, a good thing to do is to switch your focus to the negative space that surrounds it and like look at that as a shape. So I'm looking at this, the sky that surrounds the head, and making sure that that shape is right. And then if I get that shape right, it'll automatically make the positive space also the right shape. So I changed the angle of the easel to be more direct with the image I'm looking at, and then I realized I had some things that are a little off, so I'm just kind of going over and retouching. taking a little break from the painting because it's starting to look pretty weird. Yeah, one thing I'm thinking about while I'm looking at the painting, the angle of the face, I haven't really painted before. Not that it's an excuse, but the skydiving angle, a little different, because I think the picture is taken from like a camera on the guy's wrist, and then also it's like at, you know, I don't even know how fast they're going, like 200 miles an hour or something. Not to mention like the light, I'm sure is pretty different up there than it is down here. I mean, I'm sure it's not that different, but still, you know, every little thing can make things a little more difficult. But one thing that the painting is starting to remind me of is some Leonardo da Vinci. He did some character studies. Apparently, like, he was so interested in like beauty that he also found like the counter to that, which is grotesque stuff, like grotesque faces. So he would exaggerate some portraits for character studies to look really grotesque. I'm not saying that my painting looks grotesque, but I am saying that I'm trying to make it not look grotesque. And it's a fine line right now because the angle is so different, and if you don't get it exactly right, then it looks like an intentional deforming the face, which I don't want it to look like that because someone's paying me to paint this of them. So anyway, just thought I would share that as something else to look at that looks worse than my painting.